entiendo, hermanos latinoamericanos. No entiendo por qué no nos quieren. En vez de odiarnos, ¿por qué no nos miran y aprenden? ¡Aprendan! Si ya intuyen que hay algo que no entienden del fútbol y terminan contratando técnicos argentinos para ser competitivos, terminan nacionalizando argentinos, jugadores de cualquier parte del mundo para armar un plantel, ya se dieron cuenta que no están a la altura. Pero en vez de aceptarlo, cerrar el orto y aprender del más grande, ¿no? ¿Qué hacen? Le regalan la copa. Encima, son tan infantiles tus argumentos, mexicano bizarro, que empezás a gritar, argentino, no tenés plata, sos pobre, no tenés para comer, no tenés para comer. Ganamos el mundial, argentino, compraste la copa. ¿Con qué plata la compré, retrasado? No soy pobre y un endeudado y muerto de hambre. ¿Con qué?
Latas de atún, pajas y España, subido a la Torre Blanca. Todo se ve tan alto, soy un pigmeo, pero me la creo. Soy el enano marra, el enano marra, el enano marra. Me gusta el atún, las pajas y España. Soy el enano marra. Soy flaco, soy asesor muy importante. Para mi ley mis consejos son relevantes. El enano marra, el enano marra. Me gusta el atún, las pajas y España. Soy el enano marra, el enano marra. Bajas y España, subido a la Torre Blanca. Todo se ve tan alto, soy un pigmeo, pero me la creo. Soy el enano marra, el enano marra. Me gusta el atún, las bajas y España. Soy el enano marra, el enano marra. Se terminó el atún y ahora soy flaco. Soy asesor muy importante para cuando el humo ya no deja ver, se aprovecha de tu mujer. Es un moña, el economista más chanta que hay. Es un moña, el economista más chanta que hay. El economista más chanta que hay. Es un moña, el economista más chanta que hay. Es un moña, el economista más chanta que hay. Es un moña, el economista más chanta que hay. Es un moña, el economista más chanta que hay.
La democracia de Rusia no es una democracia, siempre va a ganar Putin. Por más que no se presente, gana Putin igual. Las cuestiones políticas rusas ya no pasan por la democracia o lo que diga el pueblo, pasan por esferas de poder mucho más grandes. Los oligarcas, las fuerzas armadas, los servicios de inteligencia, todo eso se ponen de acuerdo de quién va a ser el próximo líder. Cuando Putin sea viejo y capaz ya no sirva, ni siquiera esperan a que se mueren. Cuando lo vean que el chabón medio como que temblequea, viste, como que se pone duditativo, como que ya no tiene tanta cintura política, lo cortan a la mierda. No importa si es Putin, si es Stalin, si es Nikita Khrushchev, ellos siempre manejaron así las cosas.
Y un día llegó vocero, el león lo eligió vocero es el mejor videogamer, toma cualquier hater, en su cabeza es un dios, vocero, pero en su cabeza tiene alto pienso, vocero y cero, dice ser del pueblo, pero cobra terrible sueldo, con la tuya contribuyente, es el vocero domador, vocero, aunque los domados sean todos nabos, vocero, aunque nombre a mi hermano sin contarme la mano, vocero, el león lo eligió, vocero, es el mejor video que toma cualquier hater, en su cabeza es un dios, vocero, pero en su cabeza tiene alto pienso, vocero, dice ser del pueblo, pero cobra terrible sueldo, con la tuya contribuyente, es el vocero domador, vocero, aunque los domados sean todos nabos, vocero, aunque nombre a mi hermano sin contarme la mano, vocero.
Soy Cristina, también me dicen Ceseca o la jefa. Ahora no soy más progresista, Kicillof es un forro y Máximo un boludo. El problema no era el mercado, yo soy, pero...
Hola guachines, hola Richis, bienvenidos a una nueva noche del Pela y hoy con un tema candente en Estados Unidos. Aparentemente Richis, hace ya prácticamente un mes están apareciendo, dicen drones, Primero rodeando bases en Inglaterra, que aparentemente los yanquis, no los yanquis, porque son bases yanquis en Inglaterra, que no saben bien qué onda, están como más tiempo de lo que podría estar un dron. Tengamos en cuenta que un dron puede estar 15, 30 minutos, que hace Samu. Y, y bueno, y estaba todo este misterio de los drones en las bases en Inglaterra, yanquis y demás. Bueno, ahí voy a saludar un poquito. Primero, ahí está Nico Ortiz de Córdoba, Fernando Lamas, que pide los cascos de aluminio, Karek Stuart, Julio, Marcelo, bueno, a la Samu que ya lo saludé, a Martín de Viaje, a Jorge, a Azul Breather, a Juan 037, a Souto, a la antigua República Soviética. Ahí está Javier Milei, Dexter Jetster, que fue uno de los que más aportó clips para el clip, digamos, de los mejores momentos de mañana, que festejamos los 300 programas de la mañana del Pela. Ahí está también el Tinks de Devil's Eye, Matías, Reaper, Alan, Lector, Seba Strong, ahí Edward Meyers, Perejil al Tuco, ¿sí o no? Sí, claro que sí, guachín. Juan Goncalves, Nico Sebas, Cartucho, Irra, Trueno, Javier Repleti, Cash, El Diplo, Iván Doli, Iván de Oli. Bueno, guachines. Y les sigo contando. Ahí está Inventor también, Gaby Gordillo, Gabriel, Rogelio. Pena, encontré el de bien adelante. Ya lo encontré, guachín, ya lo agregué. Crisa Blogs. ¿Cómo andan, Richmonds? Bueno, hoy tenemos Carnicería Carlitos, que eran de las mejores carnes, guachín. Y bueno, como les contaba, aparecieron estos drones primero en Inglaterra, rodeando bases yanquis, no sabían qué onda, mucho misterio, ¿no? Porque no terminan de decir qué son, le dicen drones, pero si son drones, ¿por qué no los bajan? Hay allá como hasta rifles como para bajar drones que tiran, no sé si algún onda, como si te diría una señal para que le jode, viste, las cosas internas si se caen. ¿Qué hace Virgin Medina? Pablo San, Julio, creo que no me acuerdo si lo nombré, Reaper Venom, pero soy profe de historia recién recibido y es genial como analizar la historia de un punto de vista crítico y cero termo, lo que más hace más falta en las escuelas sociales. Gracias, Julio. Nunca me saludas, amigo Pelado. Pablo San, ¿cómo que no, Richie? Agalan Guzmán dice, acá hay grones, hay grones rodeando bases. Y bueno, y no se entiende por qué tanto misterio, si son drones, de dónde vienen, si no son propios, no pareciera ser gente. Aparte le dicen, no, que si ven, si se caen, no se acerquen, no sé qué, no filmen. Y después de un tiempito empezaron a aparecer en Estados Unidos, en distintos lugares y sobre todo en Nueva Jersey. Y está pasando algo rarísimo también, que ahí está también Eduardo, Eduardo Gallina. Y es algo rarísimo que está pasando, que es que la gente es como que de golpe empezó a mirar el cielo y no se entiende si confunden aviones, ¿no? Porque ahí por la zona de Nueva Jersey hay un montón de aeropuertos y pareciera que confunden aviones y le dicen drones. Y después tenés otros reportes que gente que supuestamente no son idiotas te dicen que en realidad parecen aviones, pero que en realidad no son aviones. Y bueno, con las filmaciones que hay de noche y qué sé yo, no da como para mucha especulación más. ¿Ves eso? La verdad que a simple vista parece un dron. Ahí está Nico Pucheta, Cristian Pérez, Peronich, Ramón, Nebular, Mario Armando. Y la verdad es muy extraño, ¿no? Ahí está, Más dice, Pela, buena, las pistolas son para interferir en la señal de comunicación del dron, lo que son normales van a bajar solos, los que tienen algún grado de automatización son inmunes. Dice ahí, bueno, la cuestión que está toda esta controversia y que no se sabe bien qué son, la gente está asustada, ¿no? Porque los ven todas las noches y la policía no dice nada, ahora se metió el FBI, hicieron un montón de conferencias, pero no terminan diciendo nada tampoco. Y hoy les voy a mostrar un poco, ¿no? Hoy, guachines, hincha de Boca, yo sé que no les gusta tener que escuchar otros idiomas, pero bueno, es inevitable. Hoy estamos, ¿no? Les voy a poner subtítulo igual porque los quiero y quiero que entiendan de lo que estamos hablando, pero bueno, síganlo, ¿no? No sean giles. Así que bueno, guachines, vamos a empezar con Esto no es un chiste, con este grone, para hablarnos de los drones. Esto es primero en Inglaterra, Richmond. Esperen que no le habilite el remo del audio.
And there are more questions than answers into mysterious drones spotted over U.S. military bases in England over the past several days. The U.S. Air Force says the drones have not impacted the bases or their residents, but it hasn't ruled out if they were sent by agitators. Let's get right to our News Nation special correspondent, Ross Coulthard. Ross, anytime we hear about something flying in our...
Russ Coulthard, este es un canal que se llama News Nation, que es un canal que creo que era más que nada australiano, pero que también, no sé si tiene filial en Australia y en Yanquilandia, pero no sé cuál es como la filial original. Y el guachín ahora es como especialista en ovnis, y está todo el tiempo ahora diciendo que hay cosas secretas y que y saca como whistleblowers, pero son todos terribles chantas y se la da de periodista serio. Y te digo la verdad, no presentaron una evidencia todavía. Si hay algo de lo que estoy podrido del tema ovni, es todos estos pelotudos que salen a hablar y te cuentan historias increíbles y no te dan una puta evidencia. Es igual que el retrasado ese Jeremy Corbell que se la pasa diciendo, no, guachín, trust me bro. Y siempre trust me bro, pero no te muestra nada. A ver, pará que ahí Samu está pidiendo que le suma el brillo a esto. A ver, hijos de puta. ¿Cómo le subo el brillo? ¿Cómo le subo el brillo? Font opacity, no. Ahí está, 100%. Estaba al 50%. Ahí está.
Restricted space, it causes concern. Several drones spotted over 3 different military bases over several days. You posted on social media about those sightings. What can you tell us about what you've learned?
Well, Nick, the interesting thing about this whole saga is how little the Air Force has been able to tell us about what they're seeing, because there have been at least 5 nights, possibly 6 nights, of unexplained incursions by what the Air Force describes as drones over 3 of the most sensitive US bases, or British bases where the US Air Force is based, in the United Kingdom. That's Mildenhall, Lakenheath and Feltwell. And what distinguishes all of those bases is that it's very likely all of them have nuclear weapons. So this is a very grave situation. Unexplained incursions by...
Bueno, y ahí es lo que hace también a todo como más peligroso, ¿no? No es que es en cualquier base. En esas bases en general tienen misiles nucleares que están ahí desde el término de la Segunda Guerra Mundial. Fueron haciendo bases a lo largo de lo que eran los países de OTAN y no es la primera vez que hay como una incursión ahí. Hay un caso muy como conocido que era el caso del Redham Forest, algo así, que había un coronel que veía una luz roja y grabaron todo, y después se supo que en realidad había un equipo medio como de contrainteligencia que también laboraba ahí, que es como que los estaba bardeando y les hizo medio una joda, dicen, y hay testigos también y demás, nunca se sabe qué onda. Pero bueno, lo loco es que son bases que tienen mucha seguridad. Entonces que digan, no, hay drones, no sabemos qué son, no los podemos bajar y qué sé yo. Es como muy bizarro también de su parte, ¿no?
Unexplained drones, multiple drones, dozens in some cases, and there has not been any attempt, as far as I can see, to successfully bring down one of these objects so that we can be told what they are and where they come from. And when the Pentagon was asked about this, Major General Pat Ryder, the Pentagon's press spokesman, he basically said that all he could tell us is that they are being actively monitored. He couldn't answer a question as to whether they were from a foreign adversary, and he couldn't answer the question as to whether or not they were of hostile intent.
Ross, now the U.S. Air Force did confirm that the sightings were unmanned aerial systems or drones. Do you believe that they are drones?
We've got to be sceptical about this because we've seen no evidence of this to date, Nick. And as you would know on our show Reality Check, for some time we've been reporting on similar sightings of so-called drones over places like Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, the Plant 42 at Palmdale in California, and also the Picatinny Arsenal in New Jersey. That happened in, I think, 18th of November, just before these latest incidents. Now we've got these incidents over the 3 Air Force bases in the United Kingdom. And in none of these cases have any of these devices, these alleged drones, been recovered. So I think we're entitled to be sceptical, and the public's allowed to ask questions. Why can't the Pentagon answer a very basic question? Why do they say these are drones, and where are they coming from? And can we be assured that they are not a threat?
And speaking on the not a threat, so far, Ross, help me here, none of them have appeared to be hostile, but that still doesn't necessarily give everyone great comfort.
Well, we deployed, if you remember, Nick, in February last year, we deployed F-22 fighters to shoot down what we were told were balloons flying over the continental USA. It's a very interesting situation that we know that fighter jets have been scrambled from some of these bases in the United Kingdom. They've been flying without transponders, so we haven't been able to track them to see where they're going and where they're.
Y el gato dice: hola Pela, querido, buenas noches, que leyeron los Yankees. La Argentina ya se consagró como la primera en ganar un combate los sales 100% tangento. No sé si te referís a cuando le tiraron un piedrazo a la reta o cuando los combatimos de ¿cómo se llama? De Bahía Blanca, ¿no? Que se dijo todo ese chamullo de que hubo unos ovnis y se los tirotearon. Y ahí estaba diciendo Joaquín lo del Macpherson Tapes, pero eso es como una peli, guachín. Hay 2 versiones similares, pero los 2 son ficción.
Maneuvering, but there has been an air tanker refueling them, and they've been operating on afterburners. So it's quite clear that the military is taking this extremely seriously, and the British government has also brought in military assistance of its own to help the US Air Force deal with finding out any more that
Era una base que era la base Espora, creo que es.
we can about these objects.
Well,
At the moment, I think all we can legitimately say is they're objects and they're unexplained.
And they're unexplained. And Ross, this isn't the first time, because I do want to touch on this before I let you go. We had drones flying over Langley back in 2023, and we never determined exactly what was happening. Do you believe that these drones could be from foreign adversaries?
They could potentially be from foreign adversaries, but as you would know, we were the first to report on News Nation those Langley drones, so-called, and we have queried and questioned the reasons why they use drone terminology. I think at best what they are unexplained aerial vehicles of some kind. That's the best we can put it. And I think the public are entitled to expect an explanation.
And I know that, Ross, you'll keep pushing for an explanation as well. Ross Coulthard, thank you so much, sir.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joininn.com.
La versión, la primera, una de las primeras cosas que salía esto desde hace 12 días. Y después teníamos esto que ya continuaba, ¿no? En bases de Inglaterra.
You can't have random things flying around secure military sites. And that is exactly what the UK and US military based here have been dealing with publicly, at least for the last 5 or 6 nights. Last night, there were more reports of objects in the sky above RAF air bases from Oxfordshire to Norfolk and Suffolk. We're told it's not just kids playing around because, and I'm quoting, their flights were coordinated over a series of days. Professor David H. Dunn is an expert in the politics of drone warfare and counter-terrorism strategies from the University of Birmingham. Thank you for coming on the programme, Professor. To your mind...
Profesor Cocoon, ¿cree que es momento de chocarnos cabezas y matarnos unos con los otros?
What does this look like?
Well, as you say, this is not the blunderers or the blockheads that we've seen disrupting air traffic in Gatwick in the past. This is something which looks much more coordinated. The reports suggest that the range and size and configuration, which suggests a much more serious level of threat, and probably a state actor or the state actor responding this activity. And of course, this fits the overall pattern that we've seen in the last year in particular.
Digo, qué insoportable que son los ingleses hablando inglés. Hablan todo pomposo, son insoportables.
Of a hybrid activity by Russians who are largely employing local citizens or criminal groups to act on their behalf to actually disrupt and to signal intent in terms of actually their wider conflict with the West. So if I was had to put money on it, I would suggest that this is an activity by a state, and the most likely state is the Russian Federation.
Why does it seem to be the case, again, publicly at least, that neither the UK military helping the US military can work out where these things are coming from?
Y eso es raro, ¿no? Este dice que lo que él cree que, bien, que para él, por las primeras estimaciones, yo creo que tienen que ser rusos, ¿no? De algún estado enemigo. Y el chabón le pregunta, veo, ¿cómo puede ser que hasta ahora ni los ingleses ni los yanquis pudieron o derribar uno o ver qué carajo pasa o explicar algo o saber de dónde vienen?
This is one of the fiendish things about the nature of drones and drone capability, is that these things can be launched at quite a long distance. They can be controlled by the cameras on the drones themselves, so they don't need to be necessarily line of sight. You don't need to be out in the open. You could sit in your car or sit in your front room with a window open and actually control these drones, and therefore it's very difficult to identify who the drone operators are. It's difficult to take these things down because there's a danger they could fall on individuals or property, and therefore there's collateral damage caused by that unless they really are a major threat to them. And they can fly in and fly out without being intercepted, detected, detained, and therefore identify.
Pero aparte, boludo, mirá si hay una incursión en una base militar y no le vas a disparar y hacer mierda porque, no, a ver si le cae encima a alguien. ¿Ves que es todo muy estúpido? No es que ahí en Inglaterra por lo menos era cerca de bases militares o estaban dentro de bases militares. ¿Por qué no le disparás ahí? Es ridículo. Si allá cualquiera que entre a una base militar lo cagan a tiros sin autorización. Y acá no. Ay, no, es un dron, no sé cómo dispararle. Rarísimo.
And attributed who the operators are.
And what, in theory, would these drones be doing other than creating a disturbance, causing a nuisance, worrying people about what they're getting up to? What's the purpose other than...
Samcor, no me vengas a hablar a mí del proyecto Blue Beam, boludo. Hace más de 10 años que hice videos sobre el tema. No vengas acá a hacerte el conspiranoico y no sé qué, como que te las sabes todas, cuando, boludo, estás con el conspiranoico número 1, guachín. Ya lo hice hasta con el personaje, hace como 10 años más.
Disruption of flying these drones near RAF bases?
Nunca, Friedrich.
Well, disruption is the obvious thing, and that's a cost and a signal in itself. But the wider signaling is demonstrating that you have a capability to actually put a military capability or a pseudo-military capability or quasi-military capability over the major policy instruments of military force of the West. So you're looking at B-52 bases, F-15 and F-35 bases. The major deliverer of nuclear capability of the US and the UK are being targeted and disrupted by this. So if it is a foreign state doing this, it's signaling the capability to disrupt that. It's also gathering information, gathering intelligence on that, and it's also preparing to actually use force in a lethal way by gathering that information. And what's particularly interesting is that it's not just Lakenheath and Maidenhall air bases of capability that we know of and have heard of, but it's RAF Feltwell. RAF Feltwell is where the air crew live. So it's actually having the surveillance of air crew, and that suggests, again, a preparation to actually potentially preemptively attack the air crew when they're off base and they're...
Por eso es como que se lo toman como que es una gilada y tal cual, pareciera ser inteligencia como para hacer un ataque preventivo. Está observando dónde está la tripulación de pilotos de los aviones y las bases donde tienen armas nucleares. Es raro, boludo, todo esto.
Therefore less protected. So it's potentially sinister aspects of this capability and this preparation that has gone on as part of the use of these drones.
Very good to talk to you. Really appreciate it. Professor David H. Dunn, an expert in the politics of drone warfare and counterterrorism strategies at the
Ahí tenemos este guachín. Después vamos avanzando con este que obviamente dice que Rusia está sospechado de estas actividades.
This contestation between NATO allies and Russia right across Europe, and we see it in terms of poisonings, we see it in terms of undersea cables being impacted, we see it in air bases, we see it in expulsions of spies, right across the spectrum. There are a series of activities going on between sub-threshold military activities going on between Western nations and Russia, and these could be the precursors to a proper conflict, and so that is something that we want to be ready for if it comes.
Dozens of British troops have been sent to US.
María pregunta, Pela, ¿cuál es tu teoría conspirativa favorita? Creo que mi teoría conspirativa favorita es que después de Roswell, los Estados Unidos hicieron un pacto con los extraterrestres a cambio de que ellos pueden abducir gente a cambio de tecnología. Y ese es uno. Y la otra es una mezcla de los reptilianos y de los Illuminati reptilianos, que son los reptilianos en realidad estos seres que trabajan como en otra dimensión, pero que pueden como entrar como en el cuerpo de líderes mundiales y qué sé yo, y llevar como las riendas de la humanidad. Y alguna de las dos creo que es como que de alguna manera tanto los reptilianos como los otros se nutren del sufrimiento humano, algo así. Es como, esa me gusta.
Air Force bases across the UK to protect them from drone attacks. Drones were spotted flying near bases.
Javier me dice, me llenaste humo la casa, pero y la puta madre, sí, guachín, es el programa nocturno más humeante de internet.
In Suffolk and Norfolk, Russian involvement has not been ruled out. Joining us now.
Pero Dam, yo no te estoy diciendo que la crea, me dijeron cuál es mi favorita. A mí lo que me encantan de las teorías conspirativas es un ejercicio mental, boludo, no tiene por qué ser cierto. Hay algunas teorías que después conspirativas que tienen más que ver con la realidad y con cosas más terrenales que después se terminan confirmando que eran ciertas por archivos desclasificados y qué sé yo. Pero ese David Icke tiene el de los Illuminati y los reptilianos. Esto es muy interesante.
Now is Mike Martin, Lib Dem MP, member of the Defence Select Committee and Joint Committee on National Security. Good morning to you.
Morning.
So dozens of British troops being sent. What do we know? Do we have any more detail about the frequency of these drones, the number of them?
No, we don't. Just what we've seen in the news. There were some reports last week and then again yesterday of a small number of drones flying over these US air bases. I think we need to sort of look at the full spectrum of options here. It could be everything from kids messing around, right? I mean, that does happen, right, all the way through to the other end of the spectrum, which is an act by a hostile power, probably Russia. One assumes Russia.
And will we ever get to the bottom of this, do you think? Because, there have been previous sightings of drones and it feels like there was never any conclusive proof about what they were, where they came from. And I don't know, do you have any faith, actually, that you'll be able to kind of pinpoint where these came from?
Yeah, I don't think that's a particularly difficult issue. You can, track the flight path and look at where it's come from. And obviously these are controlled by remote control. So you can look at the electromagnetic spectrum and see exactly where they're being controlled from. So that's not really the issue from my perspective. And
¿Cómo es que no saben nada entonces todavía? Si es tan fácil de traquearlos.
Actually, I think the incident, if this were a hostile power, links to something.
Martín de Viaje, lo de Luna Bomber es una locura.
Something much wider and something that we've been speaking about on the Defence Select Committee, which is how ready is the UK to defend itself, and whether that's putting land forces in Europe or defending.
Este chantún, vamos con. Este dice que llevaron tecnología contra drones, digamos, a las bases de Estados Unidos en Inglaterra.
Videos on the topic of drones being flown over USAF bases here in the UK has raised a lot of questions from viewers. One main question has been very helpfully explained by one of the security contractors who work with the UK military. You might have seen in the news recently that small numbers of British troops have been deployed to 4 USAF bases here in the UK. The reason? These units operate a highly sophisticated system to detect, track, and potentially, under the right circumstances, take control and defeat the drones that are being flown. Recent advances even allow them to track down the pilots. Leonardo have taken to their UK social media to report that their counter-drone technology, under the umbrella name of Falcon Shield, is being used to assist base leaders in assessing and potentially defeating the threats experienced over the past week or so. Essentially, this system pulls together technologies into one suite of capabilities. It is being constantly developed and was actually deployed as far back as the UK Gatwick incident, where the kit was responsible for showing that there were no drones were present and allowing the airspace to get opened. Of course, finding a drone that isn't there is always a tough job, so well done on that side. The Royal Air Force here in the UK have been developing the kit in partnership with Leonardo for some time, and it is primarily used for the security.
Ahí Edu dice, Pela, hoy a la mañana no viste lo de Cormillot en un auditorio, casi hay piñas y guachines, para eso está el Pela Reacciona, para que me mande cosas que yo me pierdo y las pueda incluir al programa.
And protection of military forces and bases, but also to protect critical infrastructure and even for public safety. The kit being deployed by British troops to the USAF bases is quoted as being called AUKUS, a version of the system that has recently added a new system which is called, wait for it, Ninja. It stands for...
Bueno, la cuestión que están mandando equipamiento y qué sé yo, pero siguen sin saber qué mierda son. Y se metió el FBI.
At your screen right there, as the FBI is investigating reports about several mysterious nighttime drone flights that have recently occurred across central New Jersey, and they're asking the public for any help they can provide. Witnesses have spotted a cluster of what appears to be large drones, as well as possible fixed-wing aircraft flying in several areas since back in mid-November. Now, it's not clear why the flights have happened or who is flying the devices, but federal and state officials stress that there are currently no known threats to public safety. The flights have raised questions in part because they took place near a U.S. military research and manufacturing facility, as well as over President-elect Donald Trump's golf course in Bedminster. The FBI asking that residents share any videos or photos they may have of the flights, along with other relevant information. Do want to bring in Olivia DeMatteo. She lives in Mendham Borough, New Jersey, and is joining us to talk a little bit more about what she's seen, because I know, Olivia, you have seen some of this. So the images and videos here only show so much. So can you explain to me what you're seeing?
So immediately when you look out your window between 6 and 7 o'clock, you're going to see these bright green and red lights. You don't know if it's an alien, people are calling them drones, but at the same time, we don't really know if they're drones. But you're just seeing this basically unidentified lights outside your window. It's wild to see.
And what are family members, friends, just about everyone saying about this? Because I know it's kind of the talk of the town, especially all across New Jersey.
I mean, people are definitely concerned. The police don't know what it is. The government doesn't know what it is. Nobody seems to know what it is, but they're saying there's no threat to the public. So it makes people think that they know more than what they're leading on. And that's definitely concerning to a lot of people, to most people.
Have you ever seen, anything like this?
No. And, we're calling them drones, and a lot of people who haven't seen them are thinking they're the little camera drones, the Google Maps drones, but they're not. They're like the size of small cars. They're huge. So it's something that no one's ever seen before.
Is it concerning overall? I know you've kind of spoken on that already, but are you having trouble sleeping at night because this is flying overhead?
The first couple nights that I did see them, it was definitely concerning. I was opening my blinds a little bit to peek out to see, oh my God, is there a drone right outside my window? But honestly, I'm so used to it at this point. It's been happening just about every night for the past week and a half that the shock factor has worn off and I'm sleeping fine, but it's definitely concerning still.
How close are they actually getting? Are they up in the sky super far up there, or do they get fairly close?
I want to say they're like, they're just above the treetops. So they're not like looking through your window per se, but they're definitely, they're not plane height, but they're kind of like in the middle of plane and ground. So, halfway up.
The fact that the FBI is involved in this investigation, working there with state officials, what does that say to you? Does it make it any more surprising, concerning, anything like that?
It definitely makes it more concerning. I mean, anytime the FBI involved, that means there's a definite threat to the public. That's kind of what I would.
Cada vez que se mete el FBI lo caga y explota todo. Y después acá, este es un guachín que sigo en general, que es más escéptico de todo. Pero está bueno porque yo noté lo mismo y el chabón lo resume bien y lo explica bien. Porque la gran mayoría de lo que muestran, ¿no? Y acá le voy a mostrar un poco en Twitter. De lo que muestran en Twitter, salvo este, ¿no? Que este claramente es algo raro. ¿No? Esto claramente es bizarro. No sé qué poronga es esto. Es rarísimo. Pero bueno, esto dicen, viste, andás a ver si está grabado ahí, ¿no? Este guachín dice esto, ¿no? A ver qué dicen. Pero andás a ver. Después acá tenés uno. Por ejemplo, este es raro porque se ve bien bajito. Este claramente no es un avión. Pero se escucha... ¿Escuchan el ruido del helicóptero? Hay un helicóptero volando también ahí. Es un ruido como si fuese un helicóptero. ¿Será un helicóptero? Porque tiene una luz, ¿no? Que está tirando como si fuese un helicóptero. Y este puede ser la luz del rotor. Y ahí abajo, ¿no? La cosa. Pero ahí suena más dron, ¿no? Pero, digamos, si vos lo ves también de otra manera, también puede ser pareciera a un avión de atrás, ¿no? Que está aterrizando, ¿no? Inclusive acá pareciera verse el fuselaje. ¿No? Si hay, no sé esto dónde será, ¿no? Bedminster, New Jersey, ¿no? A ver dónde es Bedminster. Bedminster, New Jersey. ¿No? Esto es Bedminster. ¿Dónde lo marcó? Puta madre. Ahí está, Bedminster. Pero si vos ahí marcás en lo que había puesto, ¿no? ¿Ves? Tenés un aeropuerto al lado, boludo, de donde era ese lugar. Entonces, qué sé yo, si no lo tomaron, ¿no? Y está bajando, ¿no? Lo tomaron de por acá y está bajando en esta pista. Estos, a ver. Bueno, este no se ve nada, es una luz, pero, digamos. Es raro porque ahí baja bastante. No tiene audio. Es raro que no tenga audio. Pero no sé, esto me parece, no sé, parece medio trucho esto. O sea, si te acerca esa cosa hasta ahí y la grabás, rarísimo. Esto parece súper trucho. Acá hay otros, ¿no? Acá está el que se veía recién en el noticiero. Acá hay otro. Pero, escuchá, parece un avión. Igual ahí ves el auto. Pero bueno, no se llega a entender. Este es un avión. Boludo, esto es claramente un avión. Entonces, viste, no se entiende.
What is this, dude? He's driving home.
Y esto también parece un avión. Se escucha aparte, es claramente un avión.
This thing is freaking huge.
Y sí, es un avión, idiota. Es claramente un avión. Yo no sé si la gente es estúpida, de golpe se asustó, empezó a mirar el cielo y nunca se dio cuenta que estaban cerca de un... ¿Cómo se llama? De...
Oh my god, here we go. Here it is.
También tiene...
Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Es un avión. Se escucha como un avión.
Oh my god, here we go.
También parece un avión o despegando o aterrizando. Pero bueno, la mayoría son así. Que claramente parecieron aviones. Esto es rarísimo, esto sí, es raro. Pero parece un show más de drones que de otra cosa, si es que es real.
See, even the police,
O sea,
going
esto es-
crazy. The aliens are attacking.
a mí esto me parece una truchada. ¿No? Acá... No, y acá te dicen, ¿no? Additional footage of drone sighted in New Jersey, not planes, light patterns, differ from the que no son los mismos de la FFA, pero boludo, es un avión. Y ese giro es la cámara, boludo, ni siquiera es... o no sé, qué sé yo. No, pero... Está bien, no es lo mismo, pero... Es muy similar a un avión. Esto es otra
This thing has
cosa.
been flying around like this.
What is that?
It's gone.
Rarísimo. Pero bueno, sigamos con este.
And now receiving reports of so-called, as they describe it, unknown drones hovering over US air bases, some in the United States, some in the UK. So it's a very puzzling phenomenon. So I feel like I want to give this topic a little bit of time to do an investigation. Look at some of the footage that's out there. Look at some of the claims that are being made about the drones. Look at the responses that people have, what people are speculating this might be. And I want to do it in a level-headed way, okay? Because one problem that I see with anyone talking about this is that most of the time you just see YouTubers looking at the footage screaming like, oh my God, what is this thing? That's just crazy, you know? We don't want to do this here. I understand some of the footage might be difficult to explain. Some of it might be less difficult to explain, but I really want to give it a level-headed approach as we do on this channel. If you appreciate that, then please don't forget to smash the like button. And to be clear up front, this is not a debunking video. By the end of this video, I'm not going to say, that's what the drones are, okay? It is debunked and I give you the debunk stamp. We're not doing this today. We're just going to investigate what's going on, look at the footage, because the truth is nobody really knows what's currently going on with these so-called drones. Are they drones? What is it? What's going on? However, towards the end of this video, we're going to do some speculation. We're going to talk about what this might be, what might be the purpose, the reason of this happening. So we will speculate. And obviously, feel free to share your thoughts on this down in the comment section below. If you have a theory, what this might be, what the reason might be for these drones hovering over the bases. Maybe you don't think they are drones, right? Loads of people are speculating that they are aliens, extraterrestrials, whatever it is. Leave your theory about what's going on down in the comment section below. I would greatly appreciate that. Now, this whole story started in the UK. I can remember hearing about it for the first time around mid last month, so like, I don't know, like 15th, 16th, 17th of November. Suddenly these reports were coming out where people were sharing videos online on Twitter and so on, showing lights over air bases and proclaiming that they are witnessing drones or objects hovering over air bases for extended periods of time at night. And that went on for a few nights, right? It kept happening, and then at some point it was picked up by the news media and they started to talk about it, like in this piece from Fox News. Let's see what they had to say. And by the way, I'll link all these videos down in the description as well, so you can go check them out yourself.
The U.S. Air Force says unidentified drones have been spotted over 4 joint U.S. and U.K. military bases in England. The mysterious drones have repeatedly appeared for over a week now. Stephanie Bennett is live in London. So Stephanie, this is pretty disturbing. What do we know about these drones?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Julie. I mean, the details are still very limited at this time. We do know that the sighting started last week on November 20th, and they have really ranged in size, in style, and also the amount that we've been seeing over that last week or so. Now, a senior British official confirmed to Fox that the UK has deployed about 60 troops, including counter-drone specialists, to help determine who is behind this and to help defend the air bases amid fears it's a potential coordinated operation. They're describing the incidents as unusual and say this is a serious set of circumstances. Take a look at this map. The bases are spread across England and are all used by U.S. Air Force.
So it is affecting the RAF Feltwell, the RAF Mildenhall, RAF Lakenheath, and RAF Fairford. Okay, these are 4 military bases, all American bases on English soil, and those were all reporting drone activity. And they said it started around the 20th. I seem to remember that I saw reports already before that on Twitter and so on, but I might be wrong. So that went on for a few days, and we were kind of helplessly standing aside watching these drones flying over these American air bases on English soil. And now we get the same phenomenon on American Air Force bases, on American soil. Here's another report, also from Fox News. This one is just from the 3rd of December, so from yesterday, breaking down what's currently going on in New Jersey, for example. Let's take a look.
Tonight, the FBI looking for info about possible drone sightings in New Jersey.
And Fox's Sharon Crowley is in the newsroom with more on what people are seeing and why the FBI now getting involved in this one. Sharon.
Yeah, what we've been hearing is really incredible. It's not only the FBI, but New Jersey State Police and the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security are asking for your help. If you see drones in the skies above your house or your head, they want to know what's going on. The feds want the public to report that information because they've had a number of recent sightings of possible drones flying along the Raritan River. Now, take a look at this. Mike Walsh took this video last week in Chester, New Jersey. He says that he started to notice multiple drones in the sky.
Okay, that is a big difference to the previous video, right? Here they're actually showing some footage. So here is some footage that, who was the guy?
Take a look at this. Mike Walsh took this.
Mike Walsh, wait, is that not a right-wing commentator? I'm joking. Everyone calm down. It's Matt Walsh. I get it. But he shared this video, right? Mike Walsh, and I'm getting confused as well. That was the most prominent video. I've seen this popping up left and right on Twitter, showing these lights hovering around and over the base. There's another light here on the left-hand side. You see it there. And then one even further away. So it seems to be a bunch of drones, but this one on the left, you saw it, that was blinking. The ones here on the right-hand side seem to be on in a steady light. And here he is, Mike Walsh. Let's see what he has to say.
They're big. Like I saw a couple last night, which were very large, and I checked like a flight tracker app and there's no planes in the area. If you see these things go by and, they're big.
Great insight there from Mike Walsh. They're big. I mean, I saw they look big.
Bueno, este siempre los bardea a todos, pero bueno, pero por lo menos chequeó el Fly Radar a ver si había vuelos en esa zona y no había. Estuvo bastante bien, Mike Walsh. No lo bardees tanto, guachín.
Other people filmed it as well, right? So it's probably not CGI. Nobody made it up. There's loads of videos of people filming a very similar phenomenon. But then they mix in footage like this, and I've seen this left and right. And people have sent this to me, right? Because people know I look at unexplained aerial phenomenon and try to debunk them. And people have sent this footage to me, amongst other footage, asking me, dude, it's off the charts, man. There are UFO sightings everywhere. I'm sure you can't explain this. Let's take a look.
Over the Picatinny Arsenal military base and Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey.
Wait a second. Let's take a look at this specific clip, right? Because it is actually available with the commentary, the original audio of the woman who recorded it. So let's take a look at this.
This one is extremely low. It's loud.
It's really huge.
And it's huge.
It's so big. It looks so much closer in person.
Yeah, my camera doesn't do. It looks like a spaceship, right?
Fucking plane.
Like that doesn't look like a drone, right? That looks like a spaceship.
It's un avión.
It's like a small plane. It really is like a small plane.
What? Oh God, help me. All right, let's take a look at this. So you can literally see that this object has a wing here, a wing there, some kind of fuselage in the middle. It's got two lights here illuminating that fuselage. Let's take this image and do some processing to it, okay? So obviously, it's recorded with a potato camera, as we know, most people do. But I mean, you can't blame them. This is the middle of the night shot, but Bros, this is just a plane. This specific footage is just a plane. Look at this. This is an image of a plane at night filmed from the ground. Okay? You have a green light on the left-hand side of the wing, on the end of the left wing from our angle, and a red light on the right-hand side. You have lights that illuminate the fuselage. You can even see the engine here on the left-hand side. Here's another example, okay? Again, the light constellation. Check it out. The lights in the middle illuminating the front. And then even a light in the back, right? This one has a light in the back. So does this one. Also note the blinking in the original footage. Let's look at it again, this time without the audio. But bro, okay? So the problem is people are getting all kinds of sightings confused. Don't get me wrong. We have these sightings of small unarmed vehicles hovering over air bases. But what we see here is just a plane. This is not anything strange. I mean, if this would be what, like a drone or an alien vehicle, it's complying with FAA regulations in terms of its lighting and everything. Like, it's insane. It is insane that people would film this, put it online, claim that it's anything but an airplane, and then people actually swallow it up. This is an official tweet by Fox 5 that says the FBI is investigating a cluster of what looks to be drones and possible fixed-wing aircraft spotted flying in New Jersey skies. Here's a video of the mysterious flying object from Mentham Township. Bro, what? I mean, you don't even need to be a trained observer or something to tell that this is an airplane. So that's insane. So I think the first thing we have to realize is that in this whole craze of, oh my God, drones over air bases, people get all kinds of sightings mixed up. And you can even hear the audio of the plane, right? Let's give it another listen. Try to blend out the commentary of the lady. Listen just to what you hear in the air.
Like, that doesn't look like a drone, right? That looks like a spaceship.
That's a plane, bro. It's a plane.
It's like a small plane.
Yes, it's not just like a small plane. It's a plane. It's a plane, all right? But let's park that for a second, okay? Because this is not the only clip. There were some other clips that Fox showed as well that clearly showed airplanes. Like this one, for example, right? This is another, I mean, it's the worst footage you can imagine, right? It is blurry, it's out of focus, it just shows. But look at the lighting, the red light, the white light, the blinking. It is clearly complying with FAA regulations. So I have to assume that footage like this also shows airplanes of some sort, which is not unusual when you're close to an airbase, okay? So, all right. But again, let's park this for a second, because obviously we have heard that the FBI got involved now, that in the UK the Ministry of Defense got involved now, that very, very big players in the game try to figure out what's going on here. So if it would just be a bunch of planes flying over airbases, this would be an absolute nothing story. I think a lot of these plane stories got mixed into it, and people misinterpret what they see in the sky because they're not trained observers. But there are also stories like this one, right? For example, from Germany. Update from USAF on drones over England bases. Ramstein Air Base in Germany. Small unmanned aerial systems continue to be spotted in the vicinity of and over Royal Air Force, Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall, Feldwell and Fairford since November 20.
El tipo no habla como yankee, tiene acento inglés. Creo que es alemán el pibe, o algo así.
Yes. And again, this comes from the Ramstein Air Base in Germany, and it says, to date, installation leaders have determined that none of the incursions impacted base residents, facilities or assets. The Air Force is taking all appropriate measures to safeguard the aforementioned installations and their residents. The number of systems has fluctuated and they have ranged in size and configurations. Our units continue to monitor the airspace and are working with host nation authorities and mission partners to ensure the safety of base personnel, facility and assets. So people are taking this very serious. Here's another piece of footage that I would probably classify as an airplane as well. Maybe it's not like a commercial airplane, maybe something military or whatever, but you know, the way the wings are blinking, the layout of the three lights with the blinking. Again, complying with FAA regulations, this is another sighting that I would classify as a plane. But people are reporting them to be almost car-sized, right? This is one of the reports that we got. People saying, yeah, clearly drones, and I could tell that they're car-sized. Now, with these kinds of reports, we have to be careful because it is almost impossible to determine the size of something that hovers in the air, especially at night, because if something hovers a kilometer away from you, it's almost impossible to guess how big or small it is. That doesn't stop people from claiming that they are able to do it, obviously, but you just have to be cautious with things like this. And I want to focus on footage like the one that we see here. To be honest with you, it does not give us a lot of information, but you can see it's clearly something in the sky, right? It's objects flying around. You could just see this red light here lifting up slightly in the air, like going what seems to be like ascending slightly and then flying off to the side. Typical drone behavior, but what are those? What is this? Are they man-made? Are they potentially extraterrestrial? Apparently, rumors are now starting to circulate that one has been shot down. We got this report on Eastern Daily Press. And again, I don't know how serious this piece of newspaper is, but it says, claims drone shot down over RAF Mildenhall welcomed. I don't know, is this an AI headline? I have no idea, but I mean, it says here that Kaya Nicole wrote this article and she's a senior reporter. Is she an AI? But it basically states a witness report of Crystal Mason, who's 40, who lives at Back Row near RAF Mildenhall, and she told the East Anglian Daily Times that she believes she saw one drone being shot down Monday evening. That is her. Miss Mason, the stepdaughter of a US fighter pilot, says, I saw something that looked like it had been shot out of the sky. What I saw came down and then fizzled out. To me, it looked like a drone had been shot down. Responding to Mr. Mason's claim, Andy Neal, who represents the Mildenhall, Queensway and West Suffolk Council, says it's great news if a drone has been shot down, perhaps the serial numbers on
El chabón este tiene un video en donde te cuenta un poco todo el background de ese guachín y parece que estaba loco, que era medio esquizofrénico.
parts recovered. It will lead to identification of ownership, right? So everyone is talking about drones.
Es el que como que le había cortado la mano, que decía, estaba ahí abajo en un túnel y le disparé y apareció de golpe un asqueroso gris. Saqué mi arma, le disparé y cuando disparé cayó. Y cuando cayó y parecía que estaba muerto, me acerqué para verlo y de golpe sacó una luz que salió como de su pecho y se despidió para arriba y eso me cortó la mano y me quedó así. Y habla todo así ese guachín, no me puedo acordar el nombre.
It's like, this is drones, the military talks about drones, the newspapers talk about drones, Fox News, everyone is in agreement that these are drones. Obviously, the people disagree. Just reading some of the replies under, for example, this Fox News video that we watched earlier. Drones are the new word for UAP. They are asking for our help. Bunch of clowns. They think we're stupid. We don't have drone technology that can stay up for hours unless it's military. I have not read reports that said that these drones stay up for hours, but he is making a somewhat good point there, right? Because drones at some point need to recharge. They don't stay up in the air for very long. You would ideally, if you have night vision and so on, be able to follow them around, see where they go down, and then obviously arrest the culprits, like whoever did that. As far as we know, I mean, the military hasn't said anything, and I'm sure they would, right? If they would arrest someone who's flying those drones at night, they would proudly come forward and say, we found him, a person has been arrested, and so on. They would be proudly saying this because the truth is, this is somewhat of an embarrassment for the military. The fact that they haven't stopped this yet and they're kind of just standing by, not being able to do anything, quite frankly, raises a bunch of questions about the origins of these drones. Are they actually able to do anything? Because if those would be drones, you could shoot them down. We have anti-drone technology, and like they mentioned earlier in this report, we have like anti-drone teams that apparently have already been put on this, but also about their abilities to defend themselves against drones. And if these are drones, and we have all this tech to bring them down quite easily, why has that not happened? Are they really drones? Well, people don't think so. Drone equals UAP equals UFO. Okay, we're now calling all UFOs drones. Okay, this is the new UAP. And generally, I don't disagree, right? Because UFO, UAP, it means unexplained aerial phenomenon. It's a thing in the sky we can't explain. And that's exactly what it is. That's what we're looking at here, right? It is an unexplained aerial phenomenon. And they're all over the world, as we understand now. So let's speculate a little bit. Let's go into speculation and talk about what this might be, what might be behind all this. And I will exclude the option that they are aliens. Okay, I'm sorry, it's a man-made phenomenon.
Me llamó mi mujer, no era para ver qué comíamos, pero tranquilamente podría haber sido. ¿Otra vez estás pelotudeando con los extraterrestres, con tus amiguitos de internet? ¿Qué sos, idiota?
Originates on Earth, in my personal opinion. Again, if you disagree, feel free to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. But everything I've seen so far, I don't know if they are drones or UAVs, who knows what exactly they are, but let's get into a bit of speculation territory, what we're looking at here. And again, I would be curious to hear your thoughts on what you think this is or could be down in the comment section below. I think there is the obvious theory out there that these are military spy drones, right? That it's either Russia or China or something, who knows, another military force, another government positioning these drones over all these American military bases, because it has to be mentioned that all this kind of started just a day after the Ukraine started using US long-range missiles to hit targets in Russian territory. So some of the news stations, I've seen them making this connection, right? They're like, okay, you know, now Ukraine has these US long-range missiles targeting Russian territory, and right after this, these drones appear over all these military bases. That's got to be it, right? It has to be some kind of Russian intervention or attempt of spying or undermining the security of military bases that are owned by the US. But the truth is, if this would be an effort of the Russian government to spy on US military bases, then they would use real UAVs, okay, like actual drones. They look much more like that. They fly extremely high, okay, so they're much harder to spot. They don't necessarily have lights on them that are easy to spot like we see it on these drones. They have high-tech cameras that can film during day and night, and they are unmanned, okay, so nobody's sitting inside, they're remote controlled, and that's how you gather information, right? That's how everyone gathers information. The United States does the same thing, presumably over Russia and China and so on, gathering information using these kinds of vehicles over their territory. Or we've seen other examples. Not that long ago, we got the Chinese spy balloon that was shot down, right? These balloons, they hover up in the stratosphere. They have some kind of satellite tech hanging underneath it, and that allows them to take incredible pictures of military bases and so on. But you wouldn't have like drones with lights on them hovering over bases that even all the residents around these bases can see, right? It makes absolutely
no sense. Si es una operación de Rusia que está de alguna manera juntando inteligencia, o sea, ¿de qué le sirve que se dejen ver? Es para generar pánico, tal vez es medio operación de inteligencia, medio operación psicológica, pero me parece raro, Yo creo que tiendo más a pensar que es una operación interna de distintas facciones de los milicos o de los mismos milicos para generar algún tipo de pánico con todo esto de Rusia, ahora que tal vez con Trump la guerra se acaba. Pero es todo raro. Te dicen que son drones, pero no saben por cómo que no los pueden bajar, pero que les tienen miedo, pero que qué sé yo. Es todo muy extraño.
No sense, even if they would be big drones, and we have big drones that are almost vehicle size, right? They're expensive, they are rare, they're not necessarily something that the wider public owns, but big drones exist, whether they're unmanned or manned, like in the picture we've just seen, or like in this one, these kind of agricultural drones. They are very big and they're expensive, but people can own them. But if this would be government interference, it makes no sense to have drones like this hover over these bases, putting lights on them so everyone can see them. And why only at night? Why, like, the whole thing makes no sense. And why do they comply with airplane regulations? And then, as I mentioned earlier, they need to recharge. These drones, I have no idea how long they can stay in the air.
Bueno, que está acá tranquilamente que tengan luces similares o iguales a las de aviación tradicional, tranquilamente puede ser para camuflarse, ¿no? en la zona. ¿Quién va a mirar dos veces un avión? No, salvo estos pelotudos que te dicen, es una nave espacial, y es obviamente un avión. Pero bueno, tal vez lo raro es eso, ¿no? Que parecen aviones, pero empezás a ver que se mueven en círculo, que están siempre boludeando, ¿no? Y que no terminan de aterrizar nunca. Tal vez no nos terminan de explicar y a uno le parece que la gente es idiota. Pero es raro.
Probably not longer than...
Edward dice, los UFOs de USA serán afiliados del Partido Verde, no sé, guachín.
30 minutes, 40 minutes or something, which is already extremely long. And then they need to go down, right? And as you can imagine, US military bases, they have night vision cameras. They have like extremely sensitive cameras that can zoom in like crazy at night into these drones, stay on them. Even the lights would go off and then the drone flies off to recharge somewhere and lands somewhere close to the base or something. You could follow that with the camera and be like, that's where they landed. Let's go there, arrest those guys. But apparently that's not happening.
Dice, che, Pela, ¿qué explicación lógica hay para los drones esféricos como le apareció en el aeropuerto? Hay un video de este guachín también, en donde muestra unos videos en donde hay unos estudiantes trabajando en un dron de ese estilo, que son unos globos que tienen unos motores adentro y se mueven así, o sea, y hacía bastantes años, o sea que si ya lo estaban haciendo en ese sentido, probablemente sean drones militares de vigilancia.
We're just standing by helpless. And we get all these reports from these military bases and the military, they're like, we can't really do anything. We've tried to stop the drones, but there's nothing we can do. And that leads to a lot of people speculating that there's a lot they're not telling us, right? That they're holding back on a lot of information they have about these so-called drones. And that then leads to a lot of speculation around aliens, right? Where everyone's like, yeah, they're not telling us what it really is, because if it would be drones, we could shoot them down so easily. Hence, it must be aliens, right? But the military could counter that so easily just with like some simple footage, night vision footage of these drones where you can clearly see this is a quadcopter, some kind of drone with rotating blades, right? If we could see it, it's a terrestrial object. That would end all this narrative, but we get none of it. They're not releasing any footage, no night vision, no zoomed in high resolution footage, no heat signature film that actually shows us what it is.
Hay todo un nuevo estudio que hicieron científicos sobre los crop circles que muestran cómo los que son posta, no algunos que fueron hoaxes, pero que son como configuraciones muy simples que hacen. La dobladura del tallo está hecha por como calor y tienen características y cambios genéticos que tienen más que ver con radiación que otra cosa.
We're getting nothing except this footage from the wider public. And we've seen it, right? It's garbage. So that's where a lot of this speculation comes from. But if it is a Russian or Chinese or whatever other government spy operation, then it is the worst ever conducted, okay? Looking at it, to me, it feels more like a troll effort rather than spying. And I mean, I understand how wild that sounds, right? Because flying over these bases is, in some areas at least,
ahí te muestro, a ver si está en los videos de este guachín, a ver si lo veo. Se parece lo que te quería mostrar de los orbs estos. No sé si lo voy a encontrar así, porque no me acuerdo si estaba en... A ver si es acá.
Welcome back, guys. I appreciate you being here to episode 2198 of this. To be honest, I haven't counted the numbers of episodes that I've done on this show, but if you're enjoying this content, I would recommend you to go over to my channel. I created a playlist with all the episodes in one place, so you can binge them, you can look through them, and we're going to do what we always do in all of these episodes today, which is we're going to look at a bunch of UFO clips that you guys...
No, no es este. A ver si es este.
Welcome back, guys. I appreciate you being here. In today's video, we're going to look at 3 more UFO incidents. I've got 2 UFO clips and 1 mysterious incident that occurred in Australia to share with you guys. We're going to try to make sense of these incidents, try to debunk them, at least explain them where we can. Now, I would say that the clips we're going to look at today are less clear-cut.
Concha de la lora. Acá está el video de Phil Schneider. Este es el video que hace de Phil Schneider. No, no, me parece que ya acá... Bueno, no sé dónde está ese video. Pero justo mostraba... yo me lo había guardado. No sé si estará acá. A ver.
Welcome back, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to look at another UFO video. I want to debunk one today that kind of went viral recently on a bunch of social media platforms I saw.
Bueno, ya fue, guachines. Vamos a estar acá. Último que miro a ver si está acá.
And as always...
No, tampoco. Bueno, listo. Pasamos al siguiente video. Bueno, acá les mostraba que en la zona hay un montón de aeropuertos. En toda esta zona de Nueva Jersey. Por lo que es inexplicable que la gente sea la primera vez que levanta la cabeza, ¿no? Y ve que hay aviones en el cielo. Y acá tenemos este es un guachín que es veterano del ejército y da un poco como su versión.
Flying dozens of drones all across New Jersey with no authorization. And more importantly, why is the United States unable to do anything about it? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about the strange story of New Jersey's drone epidemic. Okay, so this is one of literally dozens of videos that are on social media.
Today is November 25th, 2024.
Each of these lights is actually a drone flying.
See 3 drones just in this view. There is another one over here and another one back here.
There's a 4th.
That's fine.
So you can see what they look like to almost be doing is deploying some kind of almost like a lattice or a relay network where they're all in line of sight of each other.
5. And these are the ones that interest me most because they are coming right this way. This is taken from across the street of...
But what we have to ask ourselves then is why? And this is something where this isn't just...
Qué idiota que soy para tomar una pastilla, boludo.
Just a couple of guys on social media, reportedly, there are dozens of these drones that are flying across Morris County, but also Medham, Chester, Randolph, Roxbury, Morris, Rockaway, Dover, and beyond. This is a really bizarre series of events, right? When you look up Morris County, New Jersey, you can see that it's notable in that it is just a suburb of New York. But what's also kind of weird is that it's kind of near Picatinny Arsenal and Trump's Bedminster Golf Course, but neither of them are so sensitive and significant that they would warrant flying dozens of reconnaissance drones. And again, if your goal was to spy on the United States military bases in that area, you wouldn't deploy kind of these area drones like that. And so what's also troubling is that there's an acknowledgement, right, by the FBI that this is a open investigation, and there's other signs that this is not part of a military testing protocol. But before we talk about why I know that and what I think is really happening with these drones, I wanted to mention two things. The first, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, you should. I checked about channel uns.com. I get Ukraine. We're starting to get out combatfitnews.com links because the life flight was unable to land because there were drones in the air, and that individual had to be transported by ground to the nearest hospital much slower and really in a much more dangerous situation. The FBI is requesting pictures and videos from the public. This is not something you would do if they were testing an experimental weapon system, right? Remember, decades ago when the U.S. was testing its B-2s and its F-114 stealth fighters and bombers, they didn't really encourage pictures. They wouldn't allow pictures to be published, and certainly the FBI wasn't telling people, hey, take pictures of those aircraft, make sure we can, the Area 51 wants all the photos and mementos they can get, right? That's not what you do with your own weapon systems. You would instead be like, don't worry about it, it's under control, or make some vague statement of, but right now the FBI is like, no, call us if you see them. Report it if you see them. We don't know where it is and what's going on. And that itself is pretty troubling because we've got to ask ourselves, why would you do this? Why would you fly dozens of drones at night? By most of the reports, these are very large drones, right? Larger than you can fit on a desk is how one person described it. Some people even said they were the size of small cars, but people are bad at judging distance in the daytime, and they're even worse at night. But still, these are large, powerful drones. And so I think what this may actually be is because dozens of drones indicates that this is not like an amateur operation, right? Dozens of large capacity heavy lift drones, not something that you would expect from, again, a group of hobbyists or, like basically any kind of hobby related thing, again, a large, let's see what like a 6-foot wingspan drone would cost, right? So you're talking about, well, if these were fixed wing drones, okay, here you go. A seed spraying drone with about 6 rotors going to run you about $1,000. A long range, kind of like a Mavic clone, is going to be about $3,000. You can see a flying cart delivery drone from DJI is going to run you about $20,000. So what we're talking about are $9,000-$10,000 drones, or we'll say between $3,000 and $10,000 a pop. This is something that's at the edge of what you would expect to see from a hobbyist, right? A hobbyist might get one of these drones to fly, but they are not going to get dozens and dozens of them, right? And that requires coordinating dozens and dozens of people who own these drones and are flying them at the same time. So there's a couple of possible explanations, right? So one, we should consider it is possible, but very unlikely, that this is sort of like a drone operator's version of joyriding. Those ATVs and dirt bikes that would sometimes blaze through cities and kind of gangs just being reckless and crazy. It could be the version of that. But generally,
Ahí Juani Argendu y gracias Guachín dice, buenas Pela, vengo al team diferido solamente para saludar y aportar un poco. En unas horas veo el vivo. Abrazo Guachín.
Drone pilots, drone operators, drone hobbyists do not behave this way. They're a high investment item. There's not like a fun element, right? If they were out there having fun, you would see the drones looping and drooping and zipping and zagging, right? They're not doing that. They're sitting in formation, clearly occupying positions, either watching something or testing out some kind of protocol. And so that's sort of the other theory. And my leading theory is actually we've seen other intelligence operations, particularly the Chinese, who would have Chinese nationals who are at the end of their visa anyway, would appear to be being put up by Chinese intelligence to purchase commercial drones, fly them over sensitive military facilities, and then report the footage back to the Chinese.
Yes.
These individuals are then arrested. They claim they were just drone hobbyists. They plead guilty to a 3 to 6 month sentence for unauthorized flying a drone without permission, and the Chinese government welcomes them back after they're deported. And so this kind of protocol might be something that other countries are starting to experiment with. It's also more sinister. These other hostile actors may be asking themselves, what exactly can the United States stop? At what scale does the U.S. actually intervene and stop drones? And this is one of the things that I've talked about there. The U.S. is very passive in the face of, well, frankly, almost anything foreign intelligence services do. Turkey appears to have faced no consequences for bribing Mayor Eric Adams. The Russian intelligence wing has faced zero consequences for frying the brains of intel officers. Those Chinese nationals that flew drones faced, again, slap on the wrist sentences, and their punishment is getting sent back to China, which is, of course, exactly what they want. So the U.S., and remember the Chinese spy balloon that flew over the entirety of the continental United States before the United States even chose to shoot it down. And so what I think may be happening is a foreign power is asking the...
Están aprovechando antes de que entre Donald Trump y dé la orden de bajar todo lo que esté en espacio aéreo, capaz.
Question of what does it take for the United States military to intervene on drone flights? What does it take? And what is their process when the drones become so pervasive that they become, like, what is the tool the U.S. uses to stop drones? And this is one of the reasons that the U.S. may not be shooting down drones, is because they're like, we have some kind of secret gee whiz thing, but we don't want to show our hand. So we're just going to, unless the drones are doing something really egregious, we don't want to show it, because once we show people how we're going to stop the drones, then those state actors are going to engineer drones that are thing-proof, right? And so the U.S. military may say, we don't want to show our hand because we only have one way to take down these drones. We don't want to get ousted for it. But the fear, and that what's starting to happen now, is that these foreign powers are saying, perhaps the U.S. military or U.S. government has no way to take down drones. Perhaps they cannot stop these drones from flying, and we are going to just scale them up to a degree that is absolutely absurd, where almost no state would permit this kind of activity, and we're going to get the U.S. to deploy whatever its anti-drone weapons are. Or they're simply going to say, maybe we're going to expose them as being utterly powerless to stop them, which is sort of the more terrifying option. But again, if the U.S. is unwilling to stop drones, is it the same thing as being unable to stop them, right? Because you could sit there and say, yeah, I could stop this drone anytime I want. It's like an alcoholic who's like, physically, I can stop drinking anytime I want. I can put down the glass and no one is forcing me to drink. But is being unwilling to stop drinking the same thing as being unable to stop drinking, right? Anyone who's dealt with someone with addiction will tell you, yeah, they're the same thing. And so if the U.S. government is so impotent that they refuse to even stop continually pervasive harassment of unauthorized drone flights, if they're so limp-wristed that they can't do it, then it's the same thing as being unable to do it. And so,
y bueno, ahí tenemos la opinión de este veterano. Y acá es lo que esto había visto yo, que están probando como, esto es de hace un mes, ¿no? Había salido en este canal. de cómo están probando como lo que serían como portaaviones o inclusive aéreos también que llevan drones, y que esta sería una forma de acercarte a lugares, ¿no? Con gran cantidad que vuelvan y demás. Mira esto.
Drones are transforming warfare and support ships for the world's navies. This is the multi-purpose support ship 9000 from international shipbuilders Damon Group. Designed mainly as a drone carrier for the deployment of UAVs, UUVs and USVs, it's also a support vessel for naval submarine rescue and diving operations, as well as helicopter and maritime safety operations and search and rescue missions. At 130 meters long and a top speed of 18 knots, it'll have a cruising speed range of 10,000 nautical miles. Aft and forward multi-mission drone bays will house fixed-wing and VTOL drones and special mission equipment. Add to that a helicopter hangar, flight deck and drone...
Podría ser algo así que estén probando, si es que todo esto es cierto, ¿no? Y acá hay un avance, ¿no? Que este es de hace poquito, ¿no? De este chabón que hizo un update.
Committed to winning the fight in the era of drone warfare. But is the U.S. Army bureaucracy too big, too slow, and frankly too stupid to actually achieve a victory? We're going to take a look at the Army's counter-drone strategy and see if there's any hope for the poor DoD. Let's get into it. Okay. So the Pentagon has unveiled their counter-drone strategy, and this is in response to what they're calling an urgent threat. And boy, it really is. I don't know what else to tell you. We've covered on this channel the fact that in dozens of counties across New Jersey, someone is flying very expensive commercial-grade drones at night, basically over anywhere they want, and that no one from the FBI to local cops can find who's doing it or how.
Aparte, yo no sé cómo en Yanquilandia todavía algún yanqui no lo cagó a tiros y bajó uno él, ¿no?
To stop them. So again, if you're a regular U.S. citizen like me, it's a little troubling to say that the U.S. government is powerless to stop one of the most deadly weapons of the modern era. So it should warm my heart that the Pentagon has identified this threat as urgent, right? Because you can imagine that if, again, some hobbyists with a few $1,000s can effectively thwart the FBI by flying drones, who knows what an adversary like Russia, Iran, or even a well-funded terror group like ISIS could do with drones in the United States. So Lloyd Austin signed off on a classified strategy Monday for countering drone threats in an effort to unify the military's approach to protecting its facilities and personnel from weaponized unmanned aerial systems. Well, don't worry, guys. While they don't have a way to actually stop the drones, they have correctly... Oh, no, they calling them unmanned aerial system, right? I thought they were... sometimes referred to as uncrewed or whatever. That's the UK. The UK makes sure that at least when the drone kills you, you'll know it did so in a way that was inclusive. Uncrewed is what they will call those drones. Okay. By producing a singular strategy for countering unmanned aerial systems, the Secretary and Department are orienting around a common understanding of the challenge and a shared approach to addressing it. Now, I want to understand, guys, this is a key statement to tell you that what you're about to read contains no actionable objectives. Why? Because none of these things are, this is a system for countering it, right? This is to actually counter them.
Bueno, acá cuento un poco más con esto, pero no va a decir mucho más. Y acá teníamos las últimas noticias ya del tema, ¿no? Que a ver si dicen algo nuevo.
Rachel Campos-Duffy captured this video of drones. This is in her own backyard, and she joins us now. Rachel, y'all been seeing these. You were saying prayers with your kids, and they look out the window.
But that footage was actually captured while I was at the Patriot Awards, and my kids were home, and they saw it, they ran outside, and they captured that video.
So it's been more than once you've seen it.
Oh, multiple times. This is all everyone is talking about. If you live in Morristown, Mendham, Summit, Bedminster, that whole Far Hills, that whole area, that's all you talk about. Go to the neighborhood, apps, where, you put in if you lost your dog or your cat. They're all about drone sightings now. And so I think what you're seeing is, first of all, no answers. Whatever the governor put out was a non-answer. It didn't make me feel any better. And I just think we're in this era. You remember when I had my interview with Donald Trump at Bedminster? I'm like, will you declassify JFK? Will you declassify Epstein? Will you declassify the 9/11? And he was like, yes. I think we're in this era where people want more transparency from government, and they are so tired of the lies being told to them by the government. And I think that's what you're seeing right here. People are outraged. 3 weeks, no answer.
Llorando esta loquita. A ver si hay algo más acá en News Nation.
Mysterious drones spotted in the New Jersey night sky, prompting an FBI investigation. Residents in Morris County have been recording the large drones which appear in the sky at night. They say it started in mid-November. So joining me now is Mayor Sam Morris, and Mine Hill Township is experiencing some of this activity. Mayor, thank you, first of all, for your time. You've seen these drones. Before we talk about the theories on the source of them, kind of just describe what you've experienced.
Been hearing about them, but last Tuesday night, a resident in town, one of my neighbors on my block, said that there were 8 overhead over our elementary school and municipal complex, which are, on the same block. So I got in my car and I rode around here. And by the time I got around here, which is only about a half-mile ride, the drones had all moved east over the town of Dover, New Jersey, kind of in between us. There's a large county park, and they were everywhere. I have a video of it was 4 with a kind of a stationary drone. What it appeared to us was there was 1 drone that was just stationary, and 4 were going back and forth in a scanning pattern. I'm a little older, so I would look like Pong from back in the day, right? Back, forth, and they went over the town of Dover. I went down into Dover to see a better look, get some more pictures, and they moved east again.
Bueno, de Panda, está bien que arrancó en octubre en vez de noviembre. Ya lo aclaraste antes, guachín. ¿Cuál es la diferencia?
And that was my own personal observation. I have residents reporting, last night some residents reported that there were, over various times of the evening, they were watching, and there were 12 over our lake. And they can't get pictures because they come out really grainy, and they're still like little dots on cell phones. I'm hoping some folks with some really good equipment can get out there. I know there's a fellow in town who has infrared night equipment who's going out tonight looking. He's going to try to see if he can get. But it's very disconcerting.
What do you think is going on, Mayor? What do you think this is?
Well, to be intentionally a little inflammatory, the state of New Jersey has been invaded by drones. The question and the problem and the nervousness is by who? Because they are everywhere. There are hundreds of these things. I have friends up and down the state. They're reporting down at the Jersey Shore, in southern counties, Cape May, all the way up into Sussex County, the length of the state. They're reporting that there are drones.
Es raro, ¿no? Este es el intendente, ¿no? El mayor de ahí de un lugar. Y acá hay cientos que están reportando por todos lados. Digamos, ¿de dónde salen? ¿A dónde van? ¿Cómo no los siguen? Es extraño.
Everywhere. Theories range from that it's a military exercise because President Trump flies in and out of New Jersey and has property here, to they're organized clubs who are just putting them up in the air. But the activity of the drones, the methodical scanning back and forth, it gives a lot of people pause because they're not really sure what that's about. Right. There are people who say they're geo tracking or something. I forget what the word is. Scanning, almost like a Google Earth, but a night thing. But it's all crazy speculation in the fact that no one's provided answers.
Right. So we know that it's prompted some FBI investigations, or at least word of them. What do you think happens next, Mayor?
What I hope happens next is, this is how I see it, and I'm not speaking for any of the other mayors that have been on the letters that have been presented. I'm just going to speak for myself. Either or. They either need to tell us or trusted people around us, like county sheriffs, who can reassure us that they know what it is and they are comfortable with what it is, and that, we all know there are things that the government can't tell us for security reasons, or they need to go find out.
Right.
They need to, one of the phrases I've been using is they need to follow a drone home. These drones only have limited battery life, right?
Yeah.
They
Well,
put
Mayor,
up a military drone.
I apologize. We are out of time, but we know, there is a push right now to get some answers because a lot of people.
Menos mal, ya nos quedamos sin tiempo. Qué poronga que es la televisión, boludo.
Investigation into reports of small car-sized drones hovering over New York and New Jersey is deepening.
Oh, it's slowing down.
Tonight, authorities in Toms River, New Jersey, launching their own drone offensive for a closer look. Their eye in the sky, capturing one of the drones in motion.
You're not targeting or going after them, so to speak. Is there a methodology and reason why?
Well, right now we just want to identify what it is. The way it was explained, they're 2 feet bigger than our drones, or 2 times the size rather, so they're about 4 feet, and it looks like it's a fixed wing type craft. What concerns us mostly is that at this point nobody's seen any of these units taking off or landing.
This is a significant threat to U.S. national security.
Retired 4-star general and NBC News military analyst Barry McCaffrey tells NBC News there's good reason why local and federal agencies are treading carefully.
When you see something of this capacity, you wonder why it would be needed. What are they doing? It implies a heavy payload, and a heavy payload would be either something dangerous, a bomb, but in this case, surveillance of some sort.
Look what's back again. Same spot as last night.
Meanwhile, more sightings of the large drones continue to proliferate social media. New Jersey resident Michael Marciano capturing these images on Saturday.
Coming right above my house.
The FBI not commenting on the drone activity to NBC News, but setting up a tip.
Este es igual a uno. Hay un auto volador que es como un dron que es igual a esto. Yo creo que es eso.
Line for people to report any sightings.
It's moving really fast now.
Growing concern as the mystery in the sky continues. George Solis, NBC News, Toms River, New Jersey.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking.
Y a ver estos que decían, guachín, esto es, son unos ingenieros y están hablando sobre el tema, a ver, son los hermanos Tedesco.
You look at it, them look like, commercial traffic, but as we examined them and looked at them through our optical systems, our hyperspectral optical systems, we could identify that, they definitely weren't part of the mix.
Yeah, they were smaller. They had something that resembled navigation lights, but not in the same kind of configuration, the same kind of flash patterns or color patterns. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that they are actual manned aircraft or drones that someone is operating, or is it a mixture of the two?
We would think it would have been autonomous, or it would have been remotely operated.
Right, yeah, and as far as who's behind it, I couldn't tell you.
It wasn't like we actually, we looked around the area. We didn't see anything looked like an operating van or maybe an operating RV that could have been used to operate from the ground. As far as boats, we really couldn't identify any boat that might be, operating it.
The staging area,
yeah. Staging area. Yeah.
Why are no news crews from New Jersey or New York actually making a greater effort with their cameras and their millions of dollars?
Este chabón, yo por el principio pensé que tenía problemas, pero no pude averiguar bien. El de Hannibal TV, porque habla medio retra, ¿viste? Pero no sé si fue luchador, si le pegaron patadas en la cabeza, no sé qué onda.
To capture something. Right. I even saw a news report from New Jersey recently where the reporter, and it was, I think, an NBC affiliate, she showed the footage of a drone on her camera. She said for some reason it couldn't be captured on the main news camera, but her cell phone was able to capture it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's some big questions there. And it's so that's what puts it in the bizarre category. It's we should definitely have a better picture of what's going on and better answers from both the media and even some of the authorities.
Right. Do you think the authorities know more? Because they seem to be telling us, don't worry, just ignore these drones. There's no immediate threat to these mysterious.
Yeah, it's. I think it's just it would just be speculation at this point as far as what they know, and that, I mean, it's something that, I kind of suspect that they probably know a lot more than they're saying. But obviously, most people know that something is going on. I mean, it's, the extent of the sightings, the sheer numbers that are coming in, that are being reported, and a lot of the stuff, we believe is occurring, off the mainland. It's this is
Dice tanto como yo digo boludo este guachín.
This is more of a shore kind of experience with these objects. It's something that's probably originates somewhere in the oceans, which is a strong possibility, and they're being seen on the shores, mostly because you have, of course, population. You have high dense populations, but if we had more observers on the water, I would bet that there's more occurring over the water than there is over land.
Well, I do got it. Well, I mean, we've got to say this. I mean, the land sightings are actually growing,
right?
And to comment back on what we were saying is, those aren't answers. That's just not a threat. How would you know if it's a threat, even if it's not an immediate threat? Is it a long-term threat? The fact is, what if it's surveilling? What are they doing up there in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
That has to be answered. I mean, that's unacceptable.
Right.
Just unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it because they might originate in the water that the Navy seems to be a lot more open about this than the Air Force? Because we haven't really seen too many people from the Air Force come out. It's always Navy pilots, or we're seeing the videos from Navy ships getting swarmed.
Yeah, the Air Force has been silent on it. Why, I don't know. Of course, the Navy pilots, they're seeing this stuff on a regular basis, and we've had an opportunity to talk to some of them, and of course, they've shared the same experiences with the media as well. But it doesn't really give us answers to why this is happening. It's the fact that we're seeing it. I mean, I live locally near the research area that we're looking at right now, which is a barrier island, and I'm seeing this stuff over my residence. I'm recording this stuff. In several occasions, I've seen it. I live near an airport, and I've seen them in the flight paths of commercial airports or commercial airliners. And in one particular case, I observed two objects that had a starburst, a reddish starburst appearance to it. That were as an airliner went by, they followed the airliner in fairly close proximity and did a complete loop, two of them, one after the other, and just disappeared. And I remember just sitting there and being awestruck at it. So I've never seen anything like that before. It's but it's the behavior was bizarre, and this is before we even started the research. What we've been seeing out there is the activity is strange. It's a strange activity. It's we've recorded objects that would fall from the sky, head down to the water. We've seen objects submersed under the water. We've even been exposed, to something that, during one of our investigations that we still can't wrap our heads around.
Is there a hot time for this, for these things to appear? And the other thing, I know you've seen some of them during the day, like that, like this one that you've shown here.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But could they potentially be there during the day too, and we're just not seeing them as clear during the day?
Well, that's the thing.
Today, this one that you've
Qué raro que es eso, boludo. Parece como una especie de avión, pero no se entiende.
shown here.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But could they potentially be there during the day too, and we're just not seeing them as clear during the day?
Well, that's the thing with the sun. Depending where the sun is, it can actually occlude your view. The kind of your eyes are more sensitive at night. If something's luminous, you can see it easier than something that might be very reflective and reflect the sun. It makes it more difficult to see during the day.
Some of these objects are just they're not putting off. They're not very luminous, I should say. That any ambient lighting, that seems to, they give them mass that you could see. There's a reflective surface to some extent, but most of them are dark. They're dark objects. They're, you need low light infrared cameras in order to see them, and there are times when they become luminous, even luminous to a point where you see them in the visible light. But we've actually measured them, in the IR, in the deeper IR, in the short wave, which is beyond any kind of near infrared camera system that is being used to look at them. I mean, it's the camera system that we have for the SWIRE, or the SWIR they call them. It's it's shortwave infrared, and those cameras are relatively expensive. I mean, a camera that we use is in upward of about $14,000.
Based on the different types of objects that you're seeing, I know humans have very different types of vehicles, so it's hard to guess just based on that. But would you say they're all coming from the same thing, or could there be multiple explanations for these type of visitations?
Well, that's a good point. As we as humans, we make all kinds of car shapes and all for our own lights, our own configurations. So I mean,
Rodríguez, que dice que lo está viendo con su mujer. Saludos ahí, guachina.
I guess we could also suggest that if this is another race, an intelligent race constructing these things.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be for the functionality. It could be for pure functionality. I don't know.
Nada. Bueno, con esto bastante. A ver esto que habían mandado ustedes, boludo, que era.
La verdad. Comenzamos con esta recopilación que hice para ustedes de videos de aliens en el océano.
¿Vamos a la playa? ¿Qué carajo está pasando, boludo?
É 3, ó. Eu não consegue abrir, velho. Olha, mulher, 4. Já acho. Eu não sei qual é o jogo.
Raras que no parecen ni algas ni nada.
Me están pasando, yo soy el primer oficial, el segundo me pasó, vino el capitán también. Eran 8 luces naranjas que salían del mar, una tras otra.
Panda. Teníamos esos, a ver esto que mandaron.
Porque estas las estrellas, mirá, son de otra forma y eso es como fuego. Son muy grandes.
No, da mucho miedo, se lo ven de cerca. Sí. Ahí está.
Sí, a ver dónde está.
No, y acá. Mira. Son estrellas flotando, como saltando en las nubes. Mira, ¿lo ven de cerca?
Sí, mira, a ver. Ay, pero ahí se están acercando más.
Y ahí no hay montaña, no hay nada, mira.
No hay nada ahí.
Las montañas son
esas. Un vivo aquí tiene.
Vamos a ver, ¿y esto?
Es como que a veces se ve más, es como que van de un lado para el otro, boludo.
Amigos, están muy cerca, son ovnis
Están muy cerca, claro.
Ovni asegurado.
Sí, van a 2 por hora, culiado, nos están filmando,
¿Qué 2 por hora? Van rapidísimo, amigo.
Van rapidísimo, es como un avión.
Es como que a veces se ve más.
Ahí tenían. A ver si mandaron algo más. No. A ver si hay algo de último momento sobre los drones. A A ver si hay alguien contando algo. Acá hay uno. Este es de hace un día, pero... 11 Drone Warrior. Ahora vamos a poner upload date. No veo nada.
Tonight, an aerial mystery that's been described as unnerving is growing. The FBI now investigating multiple reports of unidentified drones flying over New Jersey, some as large as a small car. And today, a large drone seen here, also described as the size of a small vehicle, flying over a California event where Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was in attendance.
More drones in the sky, Rockaway, New Jersey.
The New Jersey drones, initially spotted in the northern part of the state, now being reported further south. Sightings also now being reported in New York City. Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella calling on the FAA and FBI to expand their investigation.
People have seen a number of 15-foot or so wingspan drones hovering around. In this day and age, I just don't think that that's something you take lightly. If it is, nothing to be concerned about. Someone should come forward and say that.
Residents alarmed by the number of sightings.
One would go over, and then the next one would come, and then the next one, and the next one. So it wasn't like there would be 20 coming at one time.
Jonathan Lace, a pilot himself, shot this shocking video.
Ahí Elian pregunta si está buena la pela Civil War. Más o menos. O sea, tiene momentos, pero más tiene una escena que está muy buena y después...
Overnight of multiple car-sized drones near the Essex County, New Jersey airport. So concerned by what he saw, he contacted the FAA.
What's been probably the most alarming thing to you?
As a pilot, I can tell you that when you're about to land, the last thing you want to see is something hovering in front of you.
What is that? With many questions and few answers, residents and officials alike on high alert as the mystery in the sky deepens. George Solis, NBC News, New York.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
Y bueno, guachines, creo que no hay nada más. A ver. Drones. Mystery. Esto ya lo vimos. Pero este que es un autito es si buscamos yo este lo había visto. ¿Ve? Bueno, acá hay similares, pero hay uno que es igual, no como este. Hay uno que es igual a ese, que estaba en la foto ese que mostraron. Que si lo buscamos un poquito lo tendremos que encontrar. Porque lo he visto. Acá está. ¿Ves? Exactamente eso. Bueno, pero era eso, ¿vieron, guachines? Es claramente ese grone. Así que bueno, Richmonds, eso es todo por hoy. Esa fue la cobertura de lo que es esta invasión de drones que tienen en Estados Unidos, sobre todo en la zona de New Jersey, antes en Inglaterra, sobre bases estadounidenses. Y viste el UFO filmado en color en 4K por unos pescadores en alta mar. Me parece que hay uno que es retrucho. No sé si es uno que dice, no, mira eso, y que vienen unos aviones de ahí, qué sé yo, es retrucho. Pero lo puedes mandar todo al Discord, guachín, el Pela reacciona, panda. Así que bueno, Richis, nos vemos mañana a la mañana, que tenemos el especial de 300 programas. Si les quedó algo que quieran sumar al editado de lo mejor del pelado según ustedes, mándenlo antes que me vaya a dormir. Chao, Richmonds, abrazo para todos.